No. This is a completely interactive thing. Please text, tweet, Facebook, whatever. It's okay. We're videoing, so whatever you miss is going to go up on YouTube. For those folks, for those folks that aren't here, you're free to be what you want, do what you want. We're going to have interactive. At any point, please stop. Don't have to raise your hand, interject. When I work with groups and talk with them, when I talk about ministry, talk about doing stuff, I work through stuff, teach them something, realize, hey, I don't agree with that, let's go back and redo that again. So if it gets to a point where there's a disagreement point, just jump your hand up. I get halfway through a point sometime and go, I don't really believe that. Let's go back and rethink that. So let's talk through, be through of what it is. I'm going to spend a little time on students in ministry and then get a little into the book. But maybe spend some time about what you read out of that, what you got out of that. I got some points that I pulled out of it, and then we'll go from there. I got one group exercise I want us to do to kind of help me get some thinking about the students that we have and some other stuff that we're going to lead into. But let me start us off with some prayer real quick. Let's pray. God, thank you for bringing us here, for being the people that you called to work with the students of Asbury, the ones that you call here, the ones that are ours, the ones that are not yet ours. And God, let us just be a light. Come to us and remove the best of all that we have that we think you know about ministry. Come fill us up with what you have. And when they have issues, when they have problems, let us be the folks that come to you and give your light words. When they want to share their joys, God, let them do the same thing. God, let us just show how we can be you to them. Thanks. Amen. One thing I love about a company called Youth Specialties is that they have big conventions every year that cost a lot of money to go to, and then about 90 days after it, they give almost all of it away for free. So if you skip it, a lot of their promotional, a lot of their videos, a lot of stuff they do in the big room. This video I want to show you is kind of one of their promo videos they had for 2012 that's kind of stayed relevant. And just kind of check it out. just spent a lot of good quality time as far as touching the needs of what's there. And if you go to youthspecialties.com, everything they have from the last couple conventions. I was there in 2013. It was a good one. Last year, I don't know what the theme was, but there's a download section. If you want to, any ideas, it's all for free. I'll take away. There's so much. Well, it's hard to kind of purchase stuff nowadays when you look at stuff because there's so much stuff available for free. I know we had baptisms. How many baptisms were there today in worship? Quite a few.
I don't know.
At least three.
At least three from one family, so probably more than that.
What I'm always amazed is when it's kind of the fear factor when baptisms are done. Is in fact the deal that everybody in the congregation makes that underlies what's there, because it's kind of the called youth leaders of Asbury United Methodist Church. You're the group. You step out of the group that just agreed to being called today, and that when people go through that "I will, I do" statement, basically what they're going to say, what folks say is this: they say, "From now on, I'm saying for this child, for this baby, for this person that's being baptized, I will model my life after them. I make this covenant with God, with them." And then seeing the investment they make from that they spend, basically it's a diapers to death deal that flows with that. And that's the kind of that we step forward and say, look, we want to do this, but also the huge untapped background that's there praying for us, supporting us, and being there with us. And that's there. And I've done a little bit that there's somebody coming tonight to senior high that because it was actually I performed her wedding a couple of years ago. Her name is Rita Gentry. You'll see her kind of hanging around, and she's been looking for a way to kind of plug in. And I kind of kept thinking, the only reason I say this is because she wasn't one of my daughter's teachers in high school, but she didn't tell. She's been here for maybe about a year and a half now, and they really haven't found a place to plug in. They kind of come sporadically. So I was thinking, as far as with Dash, who else could we put into the 412 rotation for a communicator? And I was thinking, I'm going like, Rick didn't come to church that often, but she taught high school. And then I taught my daughter about it, and she was really a pivotal point. This is where my daughter would spend her high school lunches. Was hanging out with Reed. She was she helped lead, and she was the cheerleader sponsor at Apex High School. So I'm going like, let's go knock on the door, see what it is, bring her a script, and see what it's like. And she kind of sat for the baptism before and know what it's like. She kind of came through this youth group as a student back in the 90s. And I walked into her, I said, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not here long. I'm not going to put a big drop on you, what I'm going to do, but I wonder if you would consider being a communicator. And that knowing that she's been a part of this covenant, and I kind of showed her the stuff, and she was sitting there with her mom, and they were holding their new baby, there's all kind of thing there, and she was like, I've been waiting for a wait. I think this will be really great. Can I just jump in? Why don't you just come and look first? Because she was like ready to jump in with 2 feet, because if she goes, maybe the husband comes along, who knows. But she'll be coming tonight. It was one of those excitement points of saying all the things she was looking for was to ask. And I always think, as far as when you start looking for the leaders, and where I've seen this, what I know of y'all and stories I've heard y'all tell and others tell, a lot of y'all came out of each other's life groups. You came out of other people contacting friendship groups. And as far as when it comes to build a team, the best kind of folks is the people that you know that you like and that are like you, that you can come in and build in, but also the folks you know that'll help build diversity into that. That being said, interesting statistic that's come up. A lot of things have flipped and changed. I jumped into youth ministry in 1992, and Lord knows things have changed. The games I've loved to play are now illegal. We had a huge Chubby Bunny discussion 2 days ago at my house, and that my youngest has been dying to play, and that her 2nd grade teacher told her how to play. And I was going like, wait a minute, hang on, you can't play that because this is illegal. She goes, oh, it's okay, just say Fluffy Bunny. And you just don't say Chubby. If I'm like, no, this stuff is out, don't even bring it up. But about 5 years ago, Chap Clark at Fuller Youth Institute in Southern California received a grant, and they came forth with a huge study called the Sticky Faith Study. And a lot of stuff has come out, the books have come out. The main thing that's ever jumped out for me is when I started in ministry, we always had our chaperone to student ratio. In that you had about 1 student to about, one chaperone to about 5 students just to keep an eye on them. You lowered it for middle school because you could trust your senior high as it came up. One of the biggest things that grew out of that thing with them was, he is saying, and I think it's come to be true, is that for a student to successfully navigate adolescence, kicking back to where I don't know where you want to start it in your brain. I started at about 9.5 now. And I don't know what it is with, if it's just hormones, if it's just media, if it's whatever it is now. And I think we're ending right at about 26. So we had this little spectrum for 3 months back in the 1800s. Now we've drawn out. They're saying it takes 5 adults to actively live in their life outside of the parental units. And I can say, what I say to that is that we took that number, my wife and I took this number and we ran with it, and that we intentionally tried to plug 5 people outside of us into it. Whether it be youth leaders, whether it be something else. Now, I'd love it to be youth leaders all the time, but a lot of times they really don't jive that way. And then just to see this interaction, where we've had trouble times to see where you're not communicating with us, who else can you communicate to? Like, why are you saying that? Because we put these people behind, like, you put those people. Like, I thought I was just kind of going this way. No. I got this huge disagreement with one of my daughters one time that we had but you've never had the "you're controlling my life" discussion. And we had this huge, she was about 12 and I was not in a good state of mind. And she was like, "You're just controlling my life." And I said, "Did you like your 6th grade Sunday school teacher?" She goes, "Yes." I said, "Did you like your small group leader?" Because I knew those 2 people are still in her life. And she's grown all the way through this. Now she's a junior. She goes, "We put them there. So if you don't like our control too much, let us know anytime. Because these people that have built in your life and to make you who they are, we see that there is an overall plan to see what's going on. But to be a part of that 5 that's kind of building into the students, I think is an awesome challenge to do that. Another guy that I like to read and talk about all the time is a guy named Mark Oestreicher. And he came up with this formula in his book called Youth Ministry 3.0. And he talks about people who want to be youth leaders, because they think it's a big chemical formula that you have to know how to do this, you have to do this, and he's like, he throws the ball out totally. He goes, all you got to do is be a grace-filled adult, have the smallest group of youth that you guys have, and the cool part is this one, that actually likes them. Because anybody puts that face on, "Oh yeah, I love you," and they look at you, "No, you don't." It's kind of, you're the teacher that's paid to be there for me, no offense. But all the time, and they just, something like going, "You're there for me," but you hang out and they actually know, they actually try, go out of their way to be mean to you just to see what you're going to do. Because they want to know, because we're the Christians that they're around all the time. We're the people that's like, when a Christian gets mad, what do they act like? And they'll think of, if they can't think of their parents, they're going to think of us. And this is kind of a simple thing that creates awesome ministry, I think. And that we kind of think of it like, when a lot of the congregation looks at people that work with student ministry, they go like, you have this special called niche in God's community. And yes, we do. And I think we have extra special jewels that are coming on our crown because of that. But it's also a call for anybody, I think, that can come in and fit in and hang and be with students. Because it's some people that I think it really, because I've always seen a huge age range. Because you see really young people that can come in and really fit in. And then a lot of the first people that a senior pastor usually recruits, they'll say, "Well, go to the young adults and get the cool people." And I'm like, no. You can start there, but that's cool. Because one time there was a story where I went to graduate school. There was this lady, and she'd worked with youth ministry for 35 years. And she didn't start until she was 50. In the latter part of her career, all she did was, it was a student ministry of about 300 to 400. So they would fill in, and they were the outcasts of the county. She would drift off. All the good kids were up front with the young populators, but the kids that were going to sneak out and sell pot in the bathroom hung out in the back. And she had her own stuff in her own bag. She had bags full of cookies. And she would sit back in a rocking chair because she was young. And for the last 15 years of her life, she sat back there, and then she would pass the cookies out. Like, stay in the room and get cookies. And she had this huge point, and they kind of stayed in. They kind of stayed circled around her. When she died, they had to, the church sat about 6,000. They filled the room, and they filled all the exterior spaces because everyone that came to see her, because generations had passed through her ministry. And it was just because she was the person that got it. And that all I got to do is sit here and be for these kids and hang out with them and be with them. Now, a quick changes that comes up real quick. And that another thing that Marco has brought up to us is that the 2 biggest changes that he's seen occurred in youth ministry is this. When we were going to youth group back in the day, the first thing they ever taught us, I don't know if there was a strategy that came up, was identity, was who I am. They taught you who you were, they taught you how are we different, and they taught us how to belong. Now that totally flip-flopped, because that's one thing I've seen here that you guys have absolutely mastered. And that what's kind of happened over the last couple of months, the belonging of the kids has helped them here. Because they knew when they came to small group, they belonged. And now that is the number one. To walk in and know I fit in somewhere, that where I fit in will now tell me who I am. Because I'm still mixed up in this. Because I'm still, when I look at students and talk to them, and to the three adolescents that sit around my house and make big decisions about who they are and what they're going to be, and the inside chuckle with me is going, yeah, that's today. You know, what's tomorrow is going to change. But to know that all of them go off to life groups with other leaders that tell them basically kind of the same things that I'm telling them, and keeping those boundaries makes me happy because like they're helping form who they are. Now, I want you to do something for me really quick. Actually, I want you to take about 10 minutes and do something for me. High school leaders, if you could go over here-ish on these couches, middle school leaders, if y'all could kind of stay here. One thing I love to do is profile. Is that make an accurate kind of guesstimation of, make an accurate guesstimation of who they are, because you've been working with these students for years. I know Western Wake County. I know Apex students. North Raleigh students are a different breed, or a different look. What I want you to do is I'm going to give you two pieces of paper. One for a guy and one for a girl. I need you to draw a nice stick figure on it, however you want it to happen. But draw the stick figure on one half of the page. I want you to write down words that describe who they are when you see them coming. Okay, I'm going to pick on middle school boys because they're the easiest, usually. Okay, noisy, loud, rambunctious, passionate, usually smelly of something, either a good smell or a bad smell. It's usually overloaded if it's a good smell. You know? And then on the other side, I need you to list what since you've been their small group leaders, what you see them needing in their lives. Is it a place to belong? Is it that? And if you would do that for middle school girls, middle school guys, senior high girls, senior high guys, it'd take about, at the most, 7 to 10 minutes. I want to see what we get out of that because it gives me something to put on the wall for later on. So then, and let's bring it back around real quick. Let's bring it back around. If you would have somebody look at your poster and tell me the top two that you think is the top two of each, top two description, top two needs. When you come back, I'll call on you. Just grab your couch and let's talk about it real quick.
I didn't even ask y'all yet. Sorry, Teacher Michelle. What was the other social media thing before Facebook? MySpace. That was the one that guy was talking about.
That died because all the people went to it.
What do you think on these two?
Which is why
Facebook.
There was a corner of Wake County that was totally MySpace and not Facebook. I had some kids do the same exercise there. I said, what about Facebook? I said, they don't use it. We have to use MySpace.
Yeah, I was thinking of that, but it was showing a message to you on Facebook, which really is right. We have some kids in crisis again, high school people. He actually texted me on his way to service today and said, hey, can I talk to you after service? I said, yeah, I'm teaching, thank you.
Middle school folks.
That was like, I sent him an 80 Chris, there's a check I didn't tell you about.
Middle school folks, can y'all come back and join us over here, then we'll have our active discussion of what our students are like.
Are you filming right now? All right, right now.
Got red light.
Hi. I'll stay over here. Get up the middle school side.
It works.
Do I get this cute bag?
And I've got a whole channel full of snippets that are there I've been editing with.
I was just getting ready to share some.
Nobody
Just
uses
not going to be on YouTube.
We'll let you look at it. We'll have great power to edit later on.
Oh, Jen, really just.
We started with middle school guys, so we'll start top down.
Yeah.
So senior high guys, what are your two descriptions and two needs?
Alright, so we only had 2 descriptions.
It's 4.
Okay, so
Can you ask Caleb? We don't
when
really know.
when they come in, we see them as being very self-absorbed, egocentric, but also kind of a nervous quality and almost like a lack of confidence with them. Those were the 2 most important ones. So,
Slash, that's all we got to because we only had 2 minutes.
yeah, and then you want the needs?
Yeah, go ahead and run through.
All right, so we had a sense of perspective, like not only like a local family perspective, but also a global as well. We see them also needing a village to train them up, so to speak. Also like a leadership training for them. Definitely for high school guys, good male role models in their life. And then obviously, faith, the faith foundation. But we thought perspective and male role models being the 2 biggies.
Senior high girls, what y'all come up with?
Am I talking? All right.
I drew, so come on.
Yes, Kayla drew.
Wow.
She went through progressions for the record. She went from
Yeah, let's bring attention to their foot as well. All right. All right. When we see them coming, we see them as fairly liberal in multiple different areas of their life. We see a need to be wanted and to connect with others. We see a shyness that often leads to them being giddy or silly. They're very socially aware. What's trendy and trending. They're very tech savvy and tech connected. Top 2 we made up. Connection and the shyness, giddiness that leads to silly. A lot of times the one-on-one conversation we have with our girls is very different from them in a group. Which is something as leaders we have to be aware of as we're trying to reach them in a small group versus when we're talking to them one-on-one. What we want for them. Slash what we think they need. Faith foundation, place to belong, perspective, again, the local and global, just awareness of how they relate to the community around them and just the bigger picture of the community. They need a team and a village behind them, and they need opportunity. Top 2, belonging, and that they have a village behind them.
Senior high girls, middle school girls.
much better drawing.
Just give me your top 2.
Okay, busy, they all have some extracurricular, always
Even the ones who don't talk.
First of all, you have to look at her picture.
I said
I'm
drawing
glad
is
to say,
way
I
better.
Yep.
Hey, Caleb,
Judgment free zone.
Did you see our guy wearing like brick shorts?
He's got the tire on him.
and our top 2 were belonging and a break from school.
Last but not least,
And we did have a drawing too.
look at that list.
Look, they're like doing
Boy.
We got look,
warrior pose.
we're a chatty group.
Shame.
All right, so the boys, out of the many things that we saw, what we see is identity searching, and that kind of came, a lot of things. Whether they want to be athletes, they want to be, smart, goofy. They're all looking for that place to fit, and then energetic, a lot of energy. Just that seems to melt for the boys. And then what do they need from us is belonging, which we've heard before, and someone to love them. Someone that they can trust, and someone that will kind of reach into them a little bit.
What I'd love for you to do between now and when we meet again, after seeing these polys, I'm going to take these and kind of post them up. I'm going to tape them to the wall. I have a lot of things taped to the wall upstairs in the room I occupy there. And feel free to come add to it or come look at them. Because it's a good exercise to remember who the students are and what they need as far as when you come to develop curriculum for what they want. These type of exercises, like we said they needed this, let's go this way. But also, when we say they're energetic in this way and we identify this, but sometimes what we say they are is the number one thing that sets us off. One of the things that we used to do is have, if there's ever a leader space we can have, is to take these posters and put them up and then pray for the kids that we identified and drew for, because when they come in energetic and we don't feel energetic, we got to know they're coming that way. So before we meet again next time, if you could think about this, and I'll put this out in the email, is let's begin with the end in mind. If we could create the perfect middle school guy, high school guy, or a high school girl, middle school girl. What do we want to graduate? They come to us like this, we know what we need to put into them, but what do we want to go out the door? Don't write about it now, but when we come back together, I want to do a profile of that so we have a target to shoot. And that as we're developing where we want to go, what we want to do, the person to put into the role, help put that person. What do we want that to be? And how do we want that to be? Right. Let's jump in a little bit. As you were looking at sustainable, what's something that jumped out at you? I've got some things on the slides to kind of go through as I kind of click through the chapters. If you would jump in and go from there, I'm more than happy to. We can stop and talk and go from there. But what's something that maybe came out of the introductory section that hit you? What got me the most was this: is in talking with them before of the need for Spider-Man over Superman. And that what traditionally most churches come in, and he says in the book, is that they want somebody, Superman, Superwoman, to come in and do everything and take over and run everything. The only problem is when Superman or Superwoman leaves, there's nothing there holding it together. As opposed to Spider-Man, who builds the web of connecting things, of structures together. First Carey Church and Carey went so far with this as they decorated their whole youth space with Marvel characters to remind them what it was. And predominantly there's one Superman, and you see Spider-Man everywhere. To remind them that we don't want Superman. We need Spider-Man to keep it going through. You see Thor and all the other Avengers and folks around, but the whole reminder for them is to know that there's an interconnectedness. There's not one person kind of holding the stuff together. That we build our whole infrastructure of our leadership teams and other things to make all of this work together. And that's, yet again, it's another great thing that y'all have coming out of here is the teams and the strength that y'all have. Of being together, of having not only the small groups that we talked about, the students being together, but the way you guys can come together. And I've sat in the times when y'all gotten together and don't disagree, or disagree and walk out the door and still love each other. That's a high accomplishment. Because there are a lot of places people get rooms, don't disagree, walk out the door and keep walking their different directions. That's not a trait of who you are. And it's really, really an amazing thing. Other thing that come out of this week when I get into chapter 1 and roll through that is these stuck questions that they choose to answer when they go through. Normally when they bring a team in, they'll start asking, they'll interview people for months. And then they hear these same kind of questions over and over again. It's stuff that you've not really been asking them, like, can you give me a few ideas? Can you keep us from failing? You don't understand how different we are. Will you help my church understand that youth ministry is not about numbers? Can you help me get out of these political games? Nobody wants a few ideas. Because you want to go and set a plan of something that works. And to build, as it gets to later on, talk about the other chapters of what it is to put the difference between wallpaper and concrete. To go in and build something enduring to make it last. I think if you go out trying not to fail, you're not going to try, for number 10. You got to go out willing to risk it, to see what's going to work. Not that you're going to risk students' lives, but you risk things, you risk events, you even risk talking about some topics, or going to do different type of mission experiences, to where there's got to be a little risk involved to understand what it's going to be like. If you try not to fail, it's not going to be fun. When you try risky things, not a physical risk, but it's one of those things where it's like, you'll know that we're doing something we know we can't do by ourselves. That God's going to come along and be with us to show us His power in this. When we go to reach those students, we haven't tried to reach before. Because you're sitting at, we did a count, it's about 168 students on your rolls that you have that you see. You've had 90 come since August to now. You've seen 90 on your roll. You got a shot at 168. Probably about 150 if you want to be realistic about it. You can make a shot at them, but then you start looking at the people in the neighborhoods. You start looking at how do you reach out. That's a risky environment. Because you might bring folks that you're not normally used to having here. But you have to have somebody watching the bathroom, that somebody might actually try to sell something in the bathroom to be there. You know, is it a risk to try to attract those students? What do you make at dinner? Is that a risk you make as a team? Those type of things. But you help my church understand that it's not all about numbers, it is about numbers. I've been trying to come up with a youth ministry evaluative tool for 3 years. And no one can tell me what one is. As far as if a ministry is successful, what does it look like? It's all numbers. In this conference, it used to be 10 years ago, what success was how many people you took to pilgrimage. Ask any lead pastor, how's your youth group going? And they would tell you immediately, we took 35 to pilgrimage. How many did you have last Sunday night? 5. Anybody, when you take somebody somewhere, odds are you're going to get a big crowd and they're going to want to go. Eaton Street downtown, I told you about this. They just had a lock in. 3 charter buses, 8 16-passenger vans, 1 minibus, and 2 Suburbans, 325 students. They pull 120 a week to make it work. Anybody can give you a number to make it look good. As far as what is it like? But is it about numbers? Yes, because you can be evaluated by who comes. But truth is, it should be the thing that should come out of it is the transformed lives that come out of this. How do you make that work? Now, it goes through a big section there as the book talks about good numbers and bad numbers. It's a really good discussion to go through about when it talks about how he says it's not about how many people do we have that are ours, as opposed to how many people are going to the church down the street. Now, I think by ours, we have to define that number for us that are consistent comers. Because there's not a market here for what youth come to, what students come to. You got one shot. And Sunday nights is it, unless something else develops out as far as other small groups, if I'm not correct. So we have a unique ability to make this what we want it to be, to attract tons of students, because nobody has access to owning their entire building with nobody coming into it on a Sunday night. I mean, when I walked in here and saw this, I'm like, we don't have to share. There's not another group you have to work on. You don't have to be quiet for somebody else. You can be out and make the loudest thing you want and be as messy as possible because you have time to clean it before Monday. You know? And that one that brings everything in, just to see the environment of you guys being willing to do stuff. That's the thing. That's where some of your numbers come in. But you're getting down to value too of what that is, because they like to say good numbers and bad numbers. Not I like that last one where it talks about how many contacts have we made with inactive or visitors in the past month or week. Last week you had 2 visitors. Last Sunday 2 visitors came, and those 2 visitors are coming on a mission trip, correct? Maybe?
One's going on the ski trip. One is saving up because she wants to go on a mission trip.
One's going on that ski trip. One's saving a mission because of the interactive experience they have here, and the contact of, because they came with some family Sunday morning, got connected. Terry made a contact with them. They came Sunday night. When I walked out the door Tuesday, he ran me down because he just got off the phone with the parents talking about what a wonderful experience they had at Dash. And the first part of Dash, I thought we were dead in the water with the girl that was there. I was going like, oh, we tried. She was sitting right there, and we tried to make contact with her and and finally it was that darn Tapple game. When we were sitting there playing Tapple, I said, we're going to play a game called Tapple, and she went, Tapple, because she knew how to play Tapple and liked it, and whoever was sitting right there knew how to play Tapple and hated it. The guy that was sitting right there. But eventually got into it. She led that couch in playing Tapple, and then she took over the small group time and helped them as they drew their poster and stuff. And then went back and told her folks that, hey, it was a good time. I'm going like, hey. That's the wins that come over. As opposed to when people want to start bringing up, how many folks did we have back here during the glory days, the mid-90s? Prime Richter years, what were your numbers like compared to now? Forget all that. We got to build into who we are and where we are now. Stop me. I don't know if I talked about it before. The last one I'll talk about is, can you get us out of playing political games? No. Politics, relationships, period. As we get to the latter parts of this book, he has a chapter called "Swimming with the Alligators." If you've been all the way through, basically, it's how to use politics. Church ministry in church is politics, and I hate to say it. It's just knowing what it is, having a good example for what's going on, and always having an answer where it is that you're able to answer, or someone else that has a better inroad to answer the question for you. Do we want to get out of political games? No. We just want to play them better than anybody else with a Christ-filled nature. Not to be sneaky, not to be in any way, but to be honest as we can with what's happening, to say who we are, and this is how we do stuff. So when it comes to finance committee, when it comes to administrative council, when it comes to other things, the right people are there saying the right things for us because we've set a prime example. We've cleaned up after ourselves. The students are happy, the parents are happy, and we only offend when we have to. By maintaining our boundaries of what we're doing. Now, the normals that came up in chapter 2 are usually the ones that shock people the most. And that when this book was presented to a church I was at last, I had somebody. I was working at childcare at Apex United Methodist Church, and after they got into the process of teaching this book, one member of the ministry of council came over during the day when I was working carpool, putting people in. She pulled me aside. She goes, "Do you realize what they want us to spend per student?" And I went, "Yeah, they do." And it works for that. As you get through the normals here, that normal one is spending $1,000 to $1,500 per student. Now, I've run the numbers on this one of what's happening right now for you. So let me ask you: do you think this is too much?
We're saying a year or in their life and
A year. You spend. This is how much you spend a year. Now this
But it
includes all salaries and budget and all salaries of active workers.
I think that's more than we spend on each kid than stay working on under education.
I would say it is. I would say it.
You would say it's.
I would say it's,
You say it's too much?
yeah.
Who else would you?
Do we have a feel for how much we spend now?
I got this. I ran the
I'm
numbers.
sure you do. I
I got the numbers.
mean, it's an arbitrary number. I mean, I don't know if it's good or not. I mean, it sounds good.
It depends on,
Good.
it's enough if it makes the positive
It just
impact.
depends.
It's not enough if we're not
Yeah.
making an impact.
Right now, you are spending $1,000 per active student for the fall. If you want to, the ratio, I went back and read the chapter. I did the numbers for who could be ours and ran it for 150. And it turned out to be 666, so I turned it into 667. If the number was for people we have a shot at, you're spending $667 per student, which is above anybody. But you're actually spending the dollars on the people that come, you're hitting 1,000 right now. It's amazing.
Like salary alone.
The money's there. What's that?
Salary alone, I would think, cover most of that. So-
We had a decrease time. We're going close to 5. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
8. I'm just an idiot.
There, you mean hitting that right there is another thing. The big one is one full-time staff person per every 50 students. Nobody's pulling that right now. That's the dream everybody wants, and this is the book every youth worker points to when they get in over their head. Nobody's pulling that right now, but that's kind of the way as far as bandwidth for a youth worker. That's what it looks at. One adult for every 5 youth. That's no one's hitting that one yet. But that's the goal to strive for as far as because some of you guys have smaller groups, some of you have larger, small groups. The ones you have larger are stretched thin. Stretched thin here, stretched thin outside of here with social media and email and everything like that. So that one, we'll wait until the strive for as we start the recruitment process, because February starts recruiting for next year. To make sure everybody get the right leaders in, to make sure you get all they can get all our stuff put in by the next holiday season and go from there as we keep branching out from there. You're already breaking the 10% of the work spring population.
Yeah, we're well over.
You're well over it. Now, I don't believe in the 20% ceiling. I think you just put it in there to make people feel good about that. Average youth group in the United States is 25 to 30 students, period. Because the majority of youth groups are very small churches. And we're not that. You're blowing this out of the water now, and it's not just because you're living on reputation, because you do a good job of taking care of the students that you have. And with some leadership training, some other stuff on the student level, and they start inviting and recruiting and hanging out from there, it'll just take off from there. When you hit chapter 3, it'll be really fast. 1 minute. 1 minute for chapter 3. It lists a thing about this called the superstar virus of coming in and basically if you have the youth worker come in and take over of what they need to do. And this kind of shows the ill side points of that. Don't worry, we don't have somebody, the youth staff should know how to do it all. You're in a case of where that's working, but it's going to maintain until someone else comes in that accepts the strategy of what happened. The youth worker will know the difference between wallpaper and concrete. That is what to spend. Are you going to spend more time on recruiting the people that aren't there, hitting visitors, or redecorating your youth room? Developing a full-scale calendar, as opposed to deciding what we need to do to fit in with the ladies' luncheon next week. This is somebody where you come in as far as decide as a group beforehand, what are the essentials that are important to us? Know what we're going to do, know what we're going to teach, and know where we're going to go as driving. What are our measuring matrix for the next couple of years before anything happens, before a process comes into that, and sets that up for us. And with the new youth worker coming in, the youth workers won't have to work so hard. You'll see in the book that's incorrect. They'll have to work harder. You have to work harder because the person that comes in has to come in, catch up to the system of the church, work a regular 40 to 50 hours with that, and then they have to catch up with the students that they don't know, where you guys will be hanging out with the students that you already do know to catch that person up with where they go. That's about a 12 to 18 month learning curve. And then it kind of levels out from there. Lastly, and I'm on new worker counts. Yes. When the new person come in, will the chaos end? No. Because not every student's going to fall into line with the new stuff that happens. Not every parent's going to fall into line with what happens. And not every leader's going to fall into line with what happens. There will be chaos, but so is the kingdom. We read through the Bible, the one thing that's consistent of anything is we are humans and we can mess stuff up. And the glory of God comes through and takes us exactly who we are and makes us into exactly who He wants us to be. Because I don't think His exact beautiful picture of church was what happens at the end of Acts 2 when Peter came out and said, hey, let me give this message, and then 3,000 people showed up. I doubt he wasn't planning, his organizational structure was ready for that. But taking some time with us and wonderful time of being together, leading together, being together, we can say, here's where we're going to go, here's what we want to do, here's the calendar we set, here's where we want to go, structure-wise, lesson-wise, and everybody putting parts in together, from students to us leaders to parents leaning in, we can have an awesome thing. That is the first 3 chapters. So anything after that, if you want to chat about it, we can email, call, talk. I'm here all day Tuesdays, all day Thursdays, or we can get back together and talk. Anything else jump out as far as things in the book that was like, wow. Yes.
Let's set off.